The following program is a public access production. Comcast is required to provide time on this channel and make it available pursuant to franchise agreements with the communities we serve. Comcast is not affiliated with the following program or the producers of public access programming and is not responsible for the content. The following program does not reflect the opinions of Comcast or its affiliates.
InnerQuest explores various pathways through which you can connect with the infinite wisdom of the universe and apply it to personal, professional, and spiritual growth. This program, featuring accomplished practitioners, educators, and authors, is provided by Infinity Foundation, an innovative center for holistic studies and research. We invite you to share this journey with us.
Hello, welcome to InnerQuest. My name is Jay Stone, your host for today, and our guest is Denise Hansard. Welcome, Denise.
Hey, Jay, how are you? Thanks for having me today.
Well, let me tell the audience a little about you. You call yourself a Southern girl who loves to tell stories. Denise has a master's in counseling, life coaching certification, and 20 years of experience in the corporate world. Denise uses her passion for helping people become their best selves, however they define us. So how did your master's in counseling and corporate experience kind of enmesh or come together and unfold for you?
Yeah, definitely. Well, if you think about it, when we have our life, we have just what we think of as a personal life and a professional life. And for me, it really is just one life. You can't separate the two. A lot of people think that they can go off to work every day and then leave that at work and then come back and be a different person at home. So with my master's in counseling and my certification in life coaching and the years in the corporate world, I can help people to understand that there's just one life that they have, making it aligned and giving them the help that they would need with tools and techniques, et cetera, and everything like that, to bring themselves together so they won't have that disconnect that a lot of us begin to feel sometimes.
Right. So you don't, turn into a different person.
Bingo.
When you're just you don't have to act one way at work and another way at home. You're just yourself.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
Which is what you said. Your goal is to help people become their one self or their true self, however they define it.
Yeah.
So what did you do in the corporate world?
Well, now that's an interesting story. Can I go back a little bit further?
Sure.
Yeah, so I had a couple of defining moments in my life, Jay. First, after I graduated from college, and I had a behavioral science degree and Spanish degree, and I said, well, I want to go back and get
Where'd
more.
you go to college?
I went to Tift College, which was an all-girls college in Middle Georgia. It has now merged with Mercer University and kind of just took it all in together, so they've made it one. And I taught school after I graduated from college. And it was that first summer that I was bored out of my tears and said, oh, I've got to go back to school. I can't do this. And so I went back and got my master's in counseling. And from there I went right into the healthcare division because I knew I wanted to help people. And what I did was I did short-term crisis intervention counseling in an emergency room and critical care units. And fast-paced, lots of things going on, and I absolutely loved it. And at the same time, I kind of got tired of seeing people as repeaters, I guess you could say. Women who were abused. They would always come in time after time after time. People who had certain diseases, mental health, etc., and they never could quite get themselves together. And I thought, I love what I'm doing here. I want to also help people to grow into more. And so on the side, I was doing my own work with self-help programs to whatever that would be for whoever needed it. And of course I met the love of my life, and he also was a physician and was working in the emergency room, and we were together for 8.5, almost 9 years, and we were working together and pulling practices together and everything, and he had some very devastating moments in his life, and he ended up killing himself.
Oh, wow.
And it was at that point, yeah, thank you. It was at that point that I had to step back and go, I can't help others when I need to help myself. And so I just went into the corporate world. And as I had the communication and behavioral science and counseling degree, I was also good with math. And so I liked numbers. And when the corporate world kind of found out about that, I worked my way into a pricing position. I became an executive person in the pricing department where I would help corporations learn how to price their products for profitability.
Sure.
Yeah. And so I got into that.
I took economics. So,
there you go.
I have a master's in business, so I understand how
yes.
important pricing is. You want to maximize your profits.
And you want to base it as an art and science behind it because you want to base it off of where customers' buying behaviors and find that sweet spot. And so I did that for about 20 years. And that was what took me, we talked a little bit earlier, but that was what took me from Georgia, where I grew up, to Minnesota, to Pennsylvania, to Texas, and now to Illinois. And it was toward the end of the years that I was working in the corporate world that I became dissatisfied. I felt a void in my life. I felt as if I wasn't being heard or seen or even valued. At one point I had an international position with a company where 40% of the time I was traveling to Asia, to Europe, and hardly
Sounds
ever.
exciting.
Always sounds exciting until you wake up and you go, where am I?
Yeah. What time is it?
Exactly.
Is it-
What country am I in?
Yes, it's 7 in the morning or 7 at night.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because those are the times that you go, and one time I was in London and then went to Madrid, and from Madrid went to Milan and had about 3 or 4 hours sleep every night. Never a good thing in the course of a week,
Yes.
maybe 5 days.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it was at that point that I was like, okay, so I'm unhappy, I want more, and I kind of worked myself out of a job. The last company I was with, the boss came in and said, Denise, we don't have the fortitude for a pricing department, so we're going to have to let you and your whole department go. And
Were you running the department?
I was running the department, yes. Yes, I'd come
How many
in.
people were you managing?
There were about 5 or 6 people. Yeah, he said, we won't let all of them go, but there's a few we're going to have to let go, and you're one of those. And you know how you get that feeling of, oh my gosh, what's going on in my life? You know, where the blood rushes to your head and you're just kind of almost hyperventilating. And for me, the tears were about to come, and it was a split second that I had this calmness that kind of came over me. And I realized in that moment that I could make a different choice. And I looked at my boss and I said, thank you. Thank you, because this is a blessing in disguise for me. And so that was when I went and got my certification in life coaching.
Now, you call your book Suffering in Comfort, How Owning Your Choices Will Set You Free.
Yes.
Did that experience of being let go led you to writing this book?
It did, along with my loved one committing suicide. Because at that time, I had a choice in my life of if I was going to live or not.
Well,
And so that was a choice that I had.
now there's not as much stigma associated with suicide, where it's being discussed more openly.
It is.
And so, but, back when it happened, I'm sure, did you feel like guilt or shame?
Not a lot of guilt, and not really a lot of shame. I felt the devastation, the loss. It would be where I would get up in the morning crying, because I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and cry until I got dressed, got to work, put in my 8 hours, got right out of the building, and then started crying again. It was a total grief. I was like in a body, but looking outside, looking down into my body.
Kind of a dissociated
It was
experience.
so disassociated.
Yeah.
And at that point, I almost took my own life. I was there with the pills and the alcohol and was going to take my own life, and I just almost did. And then I heard this voice going, but what would it do to your family? And I recognized that what I had gone through was as devastating, would be as devastating to them as it was to me. And I didn't want to put them through it. And so I chose to live. And yet, for the longest time, I chose to live in that victimhood state of being a suicide survivor, as opposed to regenerating myself and healing and moving forward. And so it took me a long time before I ever became healed from the loss of my loved one.
Now, you call yourself a life architect, and
Yes.
As I listened to you tell your story, you know, I could see how you've kind of sculptured and shaped your life like an architect does. So why don't you define for our audience what a life architect is?
Well, for me, and I claim that because it's exactly what you said. I mean, if I chose to stay in the therapeutic work of having my counseling degree, it would be as if I were an archaeologist, just digging into the past and into our stories and never really moving out of the past and out of our stories. And yet at the same time, it's important to understand our stories, let go of what we don't need to have, and then to build a solid foundation, as an architect would do, with the scaffolding where I can help support you to live the life you're meant to live. So that's kind of what I feel like I am, is that architect who can build the foundation for you, but give you the support for you to move forward and grow into your own life.
So let's say a client comes to you, so you're not that client's life architect, you help the client become the architect of his or her own life.
That's a great way to put it, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what skills or suggestions you give to the client so they can become their own architect?
I have two signature processes that I have developed myself. One that we all have is about gaining clarity in our life. Another is about how to deal with our fear. And so for me, one is about transforming your life through CLEAR, C-L-E-A-R.
Is it, okay, so I can
So we've got-
hold this up
Yes,
here.
so you've got it now.
Your card.
So this is about making choices in your life of how we language or make our words the most energized or positive that we can in order to take action steps from a different perspective so we can get different results.
Now, is this technique something you developed yourself?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes.
So why don't you explain the CLEAR process?
Sure. So each and every moment that we have in our life is about making choices. So we
Okay.
start off with the C, which is we always have a choice. Everything in our life is a choice. Every moment, every thought, every reaction that we have is a choice. The first choice that we always have is how do we language our words? What words do we use? Do we make them the most positive that we can, or do we stay in somewhat of a victimhood?
So the language kind of reflects our attitude and our mood and our expectations, our beliefs, etc.
Exactly, our behaviors, our thought process, our pain that we're coming from, what we were conditioned to say, the typical things. I can't.
Well, sometimes people use the volume of their voice or even their tone. Somebody said, "Well, I'm not angry." You know, it's like, yeah, the volume shut up, the tone is angry tone.
Exactly.
So would you consider that part of the language as well, kind of like the nonverbal communication? Because it's not the words, it was the way the message was delivered.
As I love the way you put that, and yes, I would, because it is nonverbal. And what we want to do, because if we come from a more positive place, which is the E in the CLEAR process, being more energized, you could do it either way. You can choose your words, as opposed to saying, I can't. You can say, I choose, which gives you much more power. Or your verbal, nonverbal, would be, as opposed to the yelling or the quiet, you can sit back and be open. I mean, this, we all know, means I'm not open, I'm closed off to you, and I don't care what you say because I'm zoning you out right at this moment. As opposed to opening up yourself and listening and understanding what you're saying, what you're conveying nonverbally. So it comes from a more energized place.
Let's see if I got this correct, but first you have to be clear with yourself And then you could be clear with others.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's all about coming from within, out, as opposed to allowing outside circumstances to affect and dictate who you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So internal locus of control versus an external locus of control.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
So the next, so we've done the C, which is choice, the L, the language, the E is the energize.
Right.
The next one is the actions.
Exactly. So think about it like this. You've made a choice on how you're going to language, whether it's verbal or nonverbal. And through that choice in the languaging, you're choosing to come from a different perspective of energized, very positive, the best you can be. From there, you're going to take a different action step than you would have before then. You're going to come from a different perspective. You're not going to be a victim anymore. You're going to be the victor. You're not going to be deflated. You're going to be energized. You're going to be more from a loving perspective as opposed to a fearful perspective. And so to tie it all up, when you're taking different action steps from a different perspective, you get different results.
Okay.
Again. And what happens, Jay, is very interesting because most of us...
So that's the R.
That's the R in the
The
clear.
R is the results.
Yes. But what happens is that most of us, if we don't like the results that we're getting, we typically just go back and change our action steps, as opposed to going all the way back to the impetus of it, which is what did we choose in the first place?
Can you give an example, like working with a client recently?
Sure. I have one client that when she came to work with me, and she's given me permission to state this, so I just want to make that very clear. I'm not going to share her name, but she has
Okay.
given me permission to share her story. That when she came to me, she was extremely unhappy in her relationship with her husband. She felt that it wasn't ever going to work, and she wanted a divorce, and she was angry all the time. And yet she didn't feel as if she could end the marriage because she still had 2 kids in school. And she couldn't figure out how to support herself and the kids without being married to her husband. So through our working together...
And I would say she was feeling trapped, is what you hear described.
That's a very good way to put it. That's the way
Yeah.
most people put it, yes.
Yeah.
Stuck, trapped, just lost. Okay? So in the course of working together, in her becoming less reactionary, more of a creator in her life, becoming clear, and that's one of the techniques that we use with her, she realized that it was all about her and not about her husband. And she came from a different perspective then and took different action steps. As opposed to getting angry and exploding and reacting the whole time, she would pause and made a decision of who she wanted to be in the moment with him in each and every moment. And from that, she said, Denise, you saved my marriage. He's the love of my life. He's my biggest supporter, and I can't see living without him.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Now, when your love of your life took his life,
Yes.
do you think this clear would have helped you back then?
If I had had it.
Yeah.
But I think the process that I went through trying to find that is what has led me to be able to give that to my clients today.
Okay.
I know it is.
Now, I visited your website and, to prepare for the interview.
Yes.
I noticed that you said that you work a lot with women.
I do, yes, yes. What I find is that I have nothing against men.
That's okay.
And it really doesn't matter if it's male or female. It's because we all hold masculine and feminine energy.
Sure.
It's just which one is more prevalent for you. What I find is that if you have more masculine energy, you're very black and white, and dealing with emotions isn't exactly what you want to do. Okay? Just give me, as I have men that come and talk to me, they'll go, just give me one thing, Denise, I need to go do. I'll go do that. And I'll go, yes, but you're not changing your pattern, you're not changing your life.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, let me have that, I'll go do that. And so I'll help them through one step, and then they'll go off and do it, and that'll be it. I've had some men that have stuck with it, and they've peeled back the layers in their life, and yet they're not exactly ready sometimes to go as deep as most women are. And the women that I typically work with are around that 45 age range and up, because it's almost as if they woke up one day feeling trapped, feeling stuck, feeling lost. It's like, I've given to my husband, I've given to my kids, I've given to my job, I've given to all of my family, and I have nothing that I have given to myself, and I don't even know who I am. And I need to find me again.
And so do the women that come to you find themselves?
I've had a very good success in that, yes. And it really doesn't matter. I mean, like the one woman I told you about in her marriage, in saving her marriage, I've had others that have come to me being in transition from a job. They've either chosen to leave the current job that they were in to do one of two things, to either find another job or to start their own business, or they got let go. So working through any type of transition like that, and working with me, they suddenly get, as one woman said, Denise, my friends told me I got my mojo back. I gained more confidence.
The groove.
And got the groove back. And all I did was help to give them that feeling that they were worthy, they were valued, they were seen and heard, to help them garner their confidence that they can take a risk in their life and go beyond where they've gone before.
Now, I also noticed on your website that you have like teleconferences.
I do a lot of different things. Like I'm involved in a telesummit that's coming up next week with other coaches. I do workshops, I do retreats, and I have a webinar that's coming up this Thursday. Well, it's the 12th of March.
So
Yes.
you would people would be able to actually see and hear you at the same time.
Exactly, scary as that is, but yes.
Okay, good. And will you be able to interact with the people that are
Via chat.
Okay.
Yes. Now, what I truly love is when I hold my workshops, whether they're a 2-hour workshop or they're a 2-day workshop, a retreat, to where I can be in front of people and see those aha moments go off in their light bulb. And bless their hearts, women tell me they start walking up to me up to the front because we're going to give them a little laser coaching, and they'll go, Denise, please don't make me cry. And I'm like, I don't mean to. It's just, you're just releasing some energy here. That's all it is.
And how would you describe your style of coaching?
It's interesting. I will tell you what others have said. I'm more like a guide and a mentor that will lovingly kick your bohunkus to get you unstuck.
What's a bohunkus?
Your bohunkus, your asperillo. It's one of those little southern terms. It means that
Okay.
you're going to get off your rumpus. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah. Basically what I do is I will lovingly guide you, but I will not allow you to stay stuck where you are.
I had a minister used to call it a spiritual 2x4.
Exactly. Something along those lines. I will tell you this. I had one boss when I was in the corporate world, and you can imagine with a pricing person, people would come to me to ask permission to go and do certain pricing. And it was probably 8 times out of 10 no, that you can't go do it that way, but let's find another way. And I had a boss that came to me and he said, Denise, he said, you have a way of telling people no that makes them want to come back for more. So that's kind of my style with things.
Okay, well, you let people down gently, I would say. So what do you think keeps people stuck the most?
I think it's their fear. I think fear.
Okay, isn't
We've
that
gotta
one of your
know.
other techniques?
Yes.
All right. So how do you tame your fear?
Through roar.
Roar.
So before we kind of get to the 4 steps of the roar process, when you said what keeps people stuck, it really truly is about their fear allowing them to stay stuck in it. They can't get past their stories. They want to stay, like I say, suffering in their comfort.
Okay.
Yes. So the roar process is 4 simple steps.
Wait, you just said something. I think you said people want to stay stuck and suffer in their comfort.
Yes.
So hence the book.
Exactly. Suffering in comfort. What I find that people tend to do is that the pain that they know is better than the risk of understanding they can get out of their pain.
So they're suffering in their comfort zone?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's where the kick in the
Bohunkus.
Bohunkus comes in.
It is. I mean, that is a way in which people can, they want to, but the pain hasn't become great enough to move out of that pain. And what I don't want to happen to them is the 2x4 upside the head, which could be cancer. It could be, you know, a loss of a major job, loss of a loved one, something along those lines. If you're not paying attention to who you are,
then that's the clear.
Exactly.
You know, it's that energy you're putting out, the negative energy that goes out comes back.
it does, definitely.
As the universe is saying, you got to change the way you think, change the way you feel, change what you believe.
Exactly.
And if you don't, things are going to get worse.
They are.
So,
That's it.
why don't you tell our audience about how to tame your fear in 4 steps with the roar?
Sounds great. Well, first and foremost, on the first R is to recognize your fear. Fear will always be with us. It's a matter of, do you allow the fear to keep you devastated, or do you allow the fear to motivate you?
Yeah, well, fear can be paralyzing, so
Exactly.
people stay stuck.
Exactly, definitely.
Okay.
And so that's, and also not just recognizing that fear will always be with you, but recognize how your fear shows up for you. Now, back in those days of the prehistoric days when the saber-toothed tiger might lunge at you and you would get very paralyzed with fear, or it would put you into action and flight, we don't really have that as much these days.
But we still have the reaction.
We still have the reaction
the
that we
ancient fight or flight response.
We
primitive.
do, we do. So it's either fight, flight, or frozen.
Yeah.
And the frozen part is when fear shows up for you and you choose to zone out. You fall asleep, you sit in front of the TV watching mindless whatever it is, or you're on Facebook all the time when there are other things that you could be doing that would help you.
Well, you mentioned that fight or flight response, it increases the appetite. And hence more and more people are
Yes.
becoming overweight or obese
Yes,
because maybe there's a lot of fear going on.
very much so. They're trying to fill a void that they have in their life that they just don't know how to do it. and
Yeah,
what
so
that
they
is.
eat food to change the way they feel, but it doesn't work.
Food, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is, emotional state, depression, yes, that's what they do.
Well, we've got less than 2 minutes, so we
Okay.
got to roar through
All
the
right,
roar.
we're going to roar through this. I'm going to make it really quick. So first you recognize that fear is always with you, and how does it show up for you? And then you O, which is the open up to the feelings that you're having associated with that fearful moment. And once you open up to those feelings, then you move to the A step, which is accept that feeling and understand